Alright, so in this video we're checking out the SpeedyBee Adapter 2. This is a Wi-Fi adapter for connecting to your Betaflight and iNav flight controllers, and this will give you full control of the flight controller as well as flashing of firmware of the flight controller via the SpeedyBee app, which is available for Android and iOS. So there's nothing in the box here, just the adapter, which we'll talk about here, and this connection diagram card. And basically uses a LiPo either 1 to 6S, and you got the adapter which has a Wi-Fi hotspot inside, and then you have a USB cable that goes to your flight controller, and it's pretty straightforward. There's a manual available if you want to download it, but this is the adapter here. It's powered by either battery, like with a PH2 connector here, like a 1S battery, which I'm going to be using in this demo, or if you have a 2 to 6S battery with an XD60, you can plug it in there and that'll power it on. Now this is part that's a little confusing. There's a USB cable that there's actually 2 ports here. One's just a dummy, it doesn't do anything, and then one's actually connected to the hotspot inside. You want to actually unplug this one. It says 2FC. Unplug that, and then this part will go into the flight controller. This part remains on the inside. So I kind of wish that they would maybe have used not an actual port here, or maybe like just because it's basically just a holder. So if you just put a little piece of like a plastic or something in there to hold it in place, then it's not confusing as to like which one is the live one, but the one on the bottom is the live one. So go ahead and power it up. Once you have power, it's not going to see it too well. You get a red light, and it's going to start broadcasting a hotspot. I'm going to go to our smartphone here, and first off you want to download the SpeedyBee app from the Play Store here if you have a Google Android phone, or the iOS Apple Store if you have an Apple phone, and just go ahead and download and install it, and I already have mine installed. And then before you run it, you want to connect to the hotspot on here. So we'll go ahead and go into our Wi-Fi settings. Alright, so we'll go into our Wi-Fi settings, and we have this hotspot here called SBA or SB Adapter 2, and some random letters and numbers. We'll go ahead and select that. And I believe there's no password, it'll just let you go ahead and connect to it. And if you get this message that says internet may not be available, you want to just hit keep Wi-Fi connection to maintain the connection. Okay, so then once you have a Wi-Fi connection, the light will turn to a flashing green light here on the adapter. And at this point we want to go ahead and plug in the flight controller. And then once you have a flight controller connected, we should have a solid green light. And we'll go ahead and we'll launch the SpeedyBee app. Okay, so as before, this app still has the Bluetooth and the USB functions. I did a video previously on how to connect via USB cable using an on-the-go cable, or via Bluetooth if your flight controller has a Bluetooth radio. I'm not going to cover that again in this video. We're just going to cover the new function here of the Wi-Fi hotspot. And if you have an older version of the app and you haven't updated it in a while, you're probably going to need to update it to get this functionality. If you don't see that on here, then obviously you're not going to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot on the adapter. So make sure you update the app on your phone. We'll go ahead and we'll connect to the hotspot and confirm the connection. And as you can see here, the app is the same as before. All of the functions are on the left here in these little small tabs, and they're almost identical to the interface that's on the latest version of the configurator. I think it's like 10.7.0. Obviously it's a little bit different here because it's on a phone interface configuration. It used to be that the SpeedyBee app wasn't quite up to date compared to the desktop app, but it's pretty much all there now. Yeah, so for example, here on the PID tuning tab, you can go ahead and enable sliders, and all of those should be here. So if you are liking the way to PID tune via sliders, that is now here in the latest version of the SpeedyBee app. But for the most part, all of the same functions are going to be in here as in the actual configurator. that's on a PC. So you really don't need, if you don't have a PC, or if you're a PC that's not working correctly, this is a great way to set up your drone without having to lug a laptop out to the field. Additionally, and this is the next function I'm going to talk about here about the adapter, is that if you have a PC that can't flash certain flight controllers, or certain flight controllers are being very stubborn and you can't get it into DFU mode, this adapter will pretty much solve that problem for you. There are certain computers, certain flight controllers that just have USB issues, and sometimes even doing the USB driver fixer doesn't solve that problem. So if you have that problem and you can't resolve it, you can either use another computer, which is I always suggest for other people, but now this is another method you can actually use this adapter, and you can definitely flash the firmware, because it won't have those weird Windows USB problems. So go ahead, we'll disconnect, and then you should come to the start screen again, and then you want to hit the three, I guess the little menu item here in the upper left hand corner, and this will bring up a menu where you can select FC firmware flasher. You can also update other things like camera firmware, BLHeli configurator, as if you want to change your BLHeli settings on your ESC. It only works with BLHeli SESCs, not BLHeli 32, but there is another app for Android that works for BLHeli 32 ESCs. But we're just going to do the firmware flasher for this video. And we're going to select the firmware type. So this actually does Betaflight and Emu Flight. So I think this actually, even though it only flashes these two, it'll actually configure Betaflight, Emu Flight, and iNav. So, and I think also Clean Flight, but that's pretty old and outdated. Anyway, we're going to flash Betaflight, and we're going to load firmware online. So I believe we're still connected to the SpeedyBee adapter, so we're going to probably have to disconnect here, but let me just go ahead and select a firmware first. So we'll choose a board. Yeah, it looks like we need to get that. We need to have that connection. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the regular internet. Okay, so I've actually had to back out of the whole app and connect to my own Wi-Fi to get internet access. So we'll go ahead back and select Betaflight, and we'll select Load Firmware Online. And now the various firmwares are now showing up. So this here is the CrazyBee F4. It's actually the F4 Lite. But we can go ahead and choose our different firmware versions, and we have everything available to us here. 4.22 all the way to 4.0 looks like what's available in here. If you want something older, doesn't seem like that's available, so unfortunately. We'll just go ahead and select the latest one, 4.22, and we'll hit full chip erase, and we'll hit download. So it's going to download the firmware now. And then it's going to go through the connection process again for the adapter, which we already have running. So I'm going to go ahead and say I've connected it. Now we have to go ahead and connect back to the SpeedyBee adapter. So we'll go back onto our Wi-Fi settings. And we'll go ahead and connect to the SpeedyBee adapter. And now has detected the flight controller. And I'll go ahead and start flashing. Wow, it's really fast. Okay, so once you've completed the flashing and reconnect back to the flight controller, you'll get this same notice that you get with the standard Betaflight configurator. You have to apply your custom defaults. And that's pretty much it. You're back in here and you're on whatever version that you've installed. So this is a very convenient way of flashing firmware to your flight controllers, or changing your settings to your flight controllers after you're on the field. And if you just have your phone, which most people will have, if you have an Android phone or an iOS phone, then this is a really good solution. You don't have to bring a laptop around anymore. So if you guys are interested in this product, there'll be a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.